Hey guys, welcome to Y&R Daily Update YouTube channel. Today's topics: The Young and the Restless. Spoilers, Monday. Full episodes. August 4th, 2025. Jack Abbott stood at the edge of his own legacy, staring out over a cityscape he had once felt anchored to, now slipping through his fingers. The weight of decisions, of loyalty fractured and trust eroded, settled heavy in his chest. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. The moment had finally come, one he had dreaded, postponed, and denied for far too long. The partnership, with Billy Abbott, his own brother, had reached its breaking point, not with a bang, but with a slow erosion marked by missed meetings, betrayed confidences, and simmering resentment. The final decision wasn't made in fury or spite, but in that haunting stillness when a man realizes that holding on is costing more than letting go. Jack had built Jabo into a pillar of Genoa City, but Billy's reckless streak, his inability, two separate personal impulse from business rationale, had once again threatened the very foundation. The fallout would be personal, painful, and public, but necessary. What hurt more than the fracture itself was the realization that Jack no longer believed his brother could be redeemed. Elsewhere in Genoa City, another storm brewed, not in boardrooms, but in the glacial stare between two women who never learned how to coexist. Phyllis Summers was fire incarnate, brilliant, cunning, volatile, dangerous only when provoked. Diane Jenkins was ice, smooth on the surface, but sharp beneath. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. Their confrontations were never subtle, never quiet. They were verbal symphonies of venom. A history of betrayals and stolen men bubbling to the surface every time they breathed the same air. Tensions exploded as Diane once again inserted herself where Phyllis felt she had no right to be, claiming space, love, family, and influence. The latest blow-up at society ended with shattered wine glasses and gasps from nearby tables as Phyllis flung words like daggers, accusing Diane of manipulation, deception, and emotional trespass. Diane, ever composed, but no less deadly, fired back with biting calm, reminding Phyllis that bitterness disguised as righteousness was still just bitterness. These weren't just skirmishes. These were battlegrounds layered with old wounds and new agendas, and neither woman would surrender first. But while boardrooms shattered and rivalries reignited, a softer scene unfolded far from the chaos. In the gentle calm of a sunlit park where the air smelled of damp leaves and gentle nostalgia, Daniel Romilodi, lost in his own storm of regrets and reinventions, stumbled upon Tessa and little Arya. It wasn't planned, at least not obviously, but something about the timing felt serendipitous. Tessa, exhausted and holding on to composure by a thread, greeted him with a warmth born more from need than cheer. Daniel, always sensitive to unspoken grief, greeted Arya with tenderness, pulling out a few marshmallow fish candies from his pocket when he heard they were out of goldfish crackers. It was a small gesture, but it landed with the kind of emotional weight that makes silence meaningful. Arya giggled, a momentary break in the gray cloud hanging above them, and nestled into Tessa's lap. Tessa's smile faded quickly, though she's not okay. Neither am I, she confessed, eyes misting over as she watched Arya's tiny fingers squeeze the candy. It's been nights of crying. She doesn't understand why Mariah left. Hell, I don't understand either. Daniel didn't respond at first. He couldn't. What comfort could he offer that wouldn't feel like a platitude? Finally, he whispered, I still can't believe she left you, too. That's not who she was. But even as he said it, he wasn't sure anymore. They sat together on a checkered blanket Daniel happened to have in his car. Half picnic, half therapy session. The sun filtered through the trees, casting soft shadows. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. And as Ariel finally dozed off in Tessa's arms, her breathing slow and rhythmic, the weight of the world seemed to hush for a moment. Daniel pointed to the sky, finding shapes in the drifting clouds. There a turtle. Tessa followed his hand. That one's a dog. No, a seal. They laughed, not because anything was funny, but because they both needed to feel human again. I needed this, she said, leaning her head back. God, I've been crying myself to sleep every night. And every morning, I wake up thinking maybe today, the day she comes home. Daniel didn't know how to comfort her. What could he say that wouldn't sound hollow? I'm sorry you're going through this, he finally offered, honest in his inadequacy. Then something unexpected happened. A rabbit hopped cautiously from behind a bush, ears twitching, nose sniffing the air, and slowly approached their blanket. Arya stirred but remained asleep. Tessa looked at the rabbit, surprised. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. Why does it feel like even animals know when something is safe? Because you're kind, Daniel replied, his voice low. And when you're kind, when you're gentle, people and maybe even animals feel safe around you. She looked at him differently then, eyes searching, but without pressure. Her hand grazed his arm. It lingered. Daniel shifted awkwardly, suddenly aware of the moment's weight. You know, he said, chuckling nervously. You should come to that guitar class. I mean, you probably need it more than I do. Tessa raised an eyebrow, teasing through the fatigue. Oh, is this your way of asking me on a date? No, not a date. I mean, unless you want it to be or not, it's just guitar. They both laughed again, but the air had changed. There was something blooming, slow, fragile, not romantic yet, but real. And yet, even as sweetness unfolded in the park, Genoa City was anything but calm. Word was spreading Kane Ashby might return. Jack, reeling from severing his partnership with Billy, now had to reckon with the possibility of Kane inserting himself into Jabba Unk's orbit once more. Unbelievable, he muttered under his breath when the news hit his phone. It wasn't just business. It was personal history clawing its way back into relevance, and Jack was too weary for ghosts. Meanwhile, Diane's latest confrontation with Phyllis was just a spark. The real inferno was coming. Phyllis had found something. Emails perhaps, or financial records, suggesting Diane wasn't as reformed as she pretended, and if Phyllis was going down, she planned to take Diane with her. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. Genoa City didn't allow clean exits, and no matter how far Daniel and Tessa tried to step away from the wreckage, the truth remained. Storms didn't ask for consent. They swallowed everything in their path. That afternoon in the park would remain etched in Daniel's memory, not because of romance or epiphany, but because of its purity. For just one moment, away from betrayal and business, from lost love and lingering guilt, he had seen someone else. Not Tessa the abandoned, not Tessa the grieving, but Tessa the mother, the survivor, the dreamer, and he saw himself reflected there, too. Not the screw-up, not the disappointment, but the man who still had something left to give. And somewhere in the city, Jack wrote a letter he'd never send. Phyllis stood before a mirror, rehearsing her next verbal assault. Diane checked her locks twice before bed. Billy poured himself another drink. Mariah sat in a hotel room staring at a photo of Arya and Tessa, unsure if she had the right to come home. The game always continued. But for a few minutes, a blanket, a bag of marshmallow fish, a sleeping child, and two people under a blue sky reminded us that maybe, just maybe, there was still a place for healing in a world addicted to pain. Let me know if you'd like a continuation, focusing on Jack's next move. Diane and Phyllis's intensifying war, or a new twist where Mariah's absence is tied to a larger mystery. The quiet of the Abbott estate was deceptive, blanketing the heavy air with an illusion of calm that neither Jack nor Diane truly believed. Subscribe our channel for more latest updates. As they stepped through the grand front doors, the sense of something unresolved, something coiled and waiting, slithered through the hallways. Diane, without a word, headed straight for the office. Needing space to recalibrate her emotions after days of verbal fencing with Phyllis and the suffocating unpredictability of nice. Jack, however, paused because seated there in the drawing room, waiting like a shadow, was Billy. Billy looked as though he'd been there for hours, though his tone when he spoke was crisp, deliberate, free of the usual circular justifications. We need to talk, he said simply, standing. I've been thinking a lot, and I believe it's time to dissolve our business partnership. Jack stiffened, not surprised. Not anymore. Just deeply, quietly disappointed. What brought this on? He asked, though he already sensed the answer. Billy didn't hesitate. Kane Ashby, the name alone sent a chill through Jack's body, and when Billy continued, it was like watching a man justify a dance with the devil. He's interested in buying your stake in Abbott Communications, Billy said, as if that were a rational statement. As if history hadn't already bled itself dry. On the altar of trusting Kane Ashby, he's thinking of reinvesting in the media arm. I think it's worth considering. Jack's eyes darkened. Are you out of your mind? After everything Kane did, after he orchestrated the trap in Nice, after he held us in that house like pawns in some grand psychological game, you're telling me you want to entrust him with the future of our family's name? But Billy was calm, frustratingly so. He's changed. No, Jack snapped. You've changed into someone who's more loyal to a man who manipulated all of us than to the brother who pulled you out of ruin more times than you can count." Billy's jaw tightened, but he didn't rise to the bait. He deserves a second chance. Jack stepped forward. He doesn't deserve a damn thing. He lured us into that estate under the pretense of business and turned it into a hostage situation. Lily barely escaped that with her sanity. You were locked in that room for 2 days with no answers, and now you're telling me this man is your new savior. I'm telling you, Billy said, voice low, that Kane has resources we don't. He sees opportunities we ignore. And yes, he's calculating. But maybe that's what this company needs now. Jack studied his brother. Do you want me to sell? Billy gave a non-committal shrug. Only if you believe Kane has a vision. Or if you believe I do. The implication stung. It was no longer about trust. It was about control. Do you really think Kane's offering you freedom? He's building a puzzle, and you're just another piece. This isn't strategy. This is manipulation. Billy smiled faintly. And yet you always said I had no strategy. Jack sighed. I'll sell. But don't expect me to pick up the pieces when Kane burns everything down. Meanwhile, at Crimson Lights, the sun streamed in through the windows with false optimism. Diane entered the cafe, needing a reprieve, needing air, not soaked in conflict. But as if summoned by fate itself, Phyllis was already there. Their eyes met across the room, and for a moment there was no history, just recognition. Then Diane moved closer. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. Good morning, she said with that signature tone that hovered between courtesy and confrontation. Phyllis didn't bother standing. Right, morning. There was a silence between them that said everything. Nice had changed things, or rather, it had momentarily suspended things. Phyllis, exhausted from captivity, had called the truce. But now that they were home, where grudges could once again flourish in familiar soil, the walls were going back up. I thought we agreed to let it go, Diane said carefully. In nice, you said. Phyllis cut her off. I said I wanted peace. That was a different place, a different climate. We were trapped. I wanted to survive. I wanted out. And I thought for 1 second, maybe we could walk away from the war. And now, Phyllis said, rising slowly from her seat. Now we're back, in Genoa City. And I don't forgive you. Dion's lips thinned. For what? For trying to live a life you spent years sabotaging. For pretending you're something you're not, Phyllis replied. You play the part, Diane. You always have the reformed villain, the tragic mother. But people like you don't change. They just wait. You're always waiting for someone to believe you, long enough to strike again. And people like you, Diane whispered, stepping closer, never know how to heal. Always poking the wound. Always blaming someone else for your misery. I blame you, Phyllis said, her voice trembling now, because every time I build something, you show up with your secrets and your schemes, and you expect everyone to forget. Not forget, Diane said. Just move on. I'm not there yet. Neither woman backed down. But neither attacked. There were two storms passing through the same city, bound to collide again. Not now, but soon. Back at the Abbott estate, Diane returned to the office to find Jack standing alone, staring out the window. Billy, she asked. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. Jack turned. He's selling me out again to Kane. Dion's face twisted in disbelief. After everything, he thinks Kane has vision. He has ambition, she corrected. There's a difference. Jack sat down heavily. I agreed to sell my stake. I had to. But this feels like the beginning of something ugly. Diane moved to him. Then let's be smarter. Let's be one step ahead. Jack looked at her. Phyllis said something. Today, she's not done. She may act like she is, but the war is coming back. Then let her come, Diane said softly. This time, we don't blink. Outside, Genoa City moved with indifference, unaware of the new alliances forming and the old ones crumbling. Billy had made his choice. Kane was returning, and with him came shadows no one could fully prepare for. Diane and Phyllis were on the edge of their next battle. And Jack, trapped between loyalty and logic, had finally learned that sometimes the people you trust most are the ones who tear you apart the slowest. Let me know if you'd like a continuation focused on Billy's meeting with Kane, Phyllis uncovering Diane's secrets, or a new power struggle emerging inside Abbott Communications. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. The episode of The Young and the Restless centers on fracturing relationships, brewing tensions, and fragile moments of hope within Genoa City. Jack Abbott faces the painful dissolution of his business partnership with his brother Billy, whose reckless decisions and questionable loyalties have undermined their family legacy. Jack, disillusioned and weary, reluctantly agrees to sell his stake in Abbott Communications, fearing the return of Kane Ashby, a manipulative figure from their past whose reappearance threatens to destabilize the company and their personal lives. Simultaneously, a fierce rivalry between Phyllis Summers and Diane Jenkins intensifies, fueled by past betrayals, stolen lovers, and fresh discoveries of deception. Their confrontations oscillate between verbal warfare and strategic plotting, promising an escalating battle that neither woman is willing to lose. Despite a temporary truce formed during their captivity in Nice, old wounds reopen as they return to Genoa City, each preparing for the next round of their bitter feud. Amidst the turmoil, a softer and more intimate storyline unfolds involving Daniel Romalotti, Tessa, and Arya. The trio shares a tender, quiet moment in a park, highlighting themes of grief, healing, and human connection. Tessa struggles with the absence of Mariah, who left under mysterious circumstances, while Daniel offers quiet support, creating a fragile bond of understanding and hope. This moment of calm contrasts sharply with the chaos engulfing the rest of the city. The episode closes with looming threats, Kane Ashby's impending return, the rekindling of the Phyllis-Diane war, and Jack's internal battle between loyalty to family and the harsh realities of business survival. The narrative sets the stage for upcoming power struggles, emotional reckonings, and the question of whether any of Genoa City's residents can find peace amid relentless conflict. Highlights: Jack Abbott ends his partnership with brother Billy amid trust and loyalty breakdown. Phyllis Summers and Diane Jenkins reignite their bitter rivalry with verbal and psychological warfare. A tender moment in the park shows Daniel and Tessa's quiet struggle with grief and hope. Kane Ashby's potential return threatens to upend the Abbott family business and personal lives. Mariah's mysterious absence leaves Tessa and Arya grappling with loss and uncertainty. Business conflicts intertwine with personal betrayals, blurring lines between family and corporate warfare. Moments of healing and human connection offer a fragile contrast to Genoa City's ongoing storms. Key insights: the complexity of family loyalty in business. Jack and Billy's fractured partnership underscores how deeply personal relationships can complicate corporate decisions. Billy's shift toward trusting Kane Ashby, despite the latter's dark history, exemplifies how desperation and ambition can cloud judgment and loyalty. Jack's reluctant agreement to sell his stake reflects a painful recognition that preserving family legacy sometimes requires sacrifice and letting go. The blurred lines between personal and professional warfare. The feud between Phyllis and Diane is not merely about personal grudges but has tangible impacts on their social and professional standings. Their verbal battles reveal how past betrayals and insecurities fuel ongoing conflicts, illustrating how unresolved emotional wounds can poison business and social environments alike. Their strategic mindset hints at an escalating war that will have far-reaching consequences. The power of vulnerability and healing amidst chaos. The park scene with Daniel, Tessa, and Arya provides a poignant counterpoint to the episode's tension. It highlights how human connection, kindness, and shared grief can foster moments of peace and healing. Daniel's small gesture with marshmallow fish candies and the appearance of the rabbit symbolize hope and safety, suggesting that even in a world dominated by conflict, compassion remains a vital force. The return of Kane Ashby as a catalyst for conflict. Kane's looming return represents a significant threat not only to Abbott Communications but also to the personal lives of the characters. His history of manipulation and control serves as a reminder of past traumas that the characters have yet to fully overcome. Billy's willingness to engage with Kane indicates shifting power dynamics and foreshadows significant upheaval in Genoa City's social and business circles. Mariah's absence as a narrative mystery. Mariah's unexplained departure adds a layer of intrigue and emotional complexity to the story. Her absence affects Tessa and Arya profoundly and raises questions about her motivations and the possible broader implications for the family. This subplot hints at future revelations and the potential uncovering of secrets that could impact multiple characters. The cyclical nature of conflict and reconciliation. The episode illustrates how temporary truces, like the one Phyllis and Diane shared in Nice, are often fragile and short-lived in Genoa City. Environmental changes such as returning home reactivate old conflicts, demonstrating how the past continually influences the present. This cyclical pattern of conflict suggests that genuine resolution will require deeper transformation than mere avoidance or surface-level peace. The duality of characters and shifting identities. Throughout the episode, characters struggle with their public personas versus their private realities. Diane's claim of being a reformed villain contrasts with Phyllis's skepticism, highlighting themes of identity, trust, and redemption. Similarly, Jack's internal conflict between loyalty to family and pragmatic business decisions exposes the multi-layered nature of personal and professional identities in Genoa City. In sum, this episode of The Young and the Restless delves into the intricate web of family loyalty, personal betrayal, and the quest for redemption. It balances intense confrontations and strategic maneuvering with moments of profound human connection, setting the stage for a season rich in emotional depth and dramatic twists.